Fortunately, the second pathologist does agree that this is likely melanoma. I do want to let you know that I received a final report on biopsy, and unfortunately, the second pathologist does agree that this is likely melanoma. I know that's not a big surprise. It's still a big blow. I'm sorry. And for the moment, we'll follow up on the PET scan, the required schedule. And I do think that Moffitt is likely the best option here. I know there's a handful of different options. I discussed a few different possibilities with a few of my colleagues, and Moffitt and MD Anderson regionally are probably the areas best equipped to handle this. We can certainly talk more once you get the results of the PET scan. Hang in there. We'll be in touch. Thank you.
Wow, it's crazy to relive that voicemail that I listened to when I was in Mexico with my family. He was following up with me, just confirming that it was cancer and it was melanoma. To listen to that voicemail just brings me back to that moment where I just had nothing but a pit in my stomach. Just the unknown was the scariest part. The reason why I'm sharing my story with all of you is because when I was diagnosed, I was scorning the internet, looking for hope, looking for someone that had dealt with cancer, looking for someone that had the same type of cancer, looking for any hope out there that was stage 4 that survived. And I maybe found 2 things. I get it. When you go through something so traumatic in your life, you don't want to relive it. What I'm doing is I'm reliving it every time that I talk about my experience. But I would do that over and over again if that meant giving someone hope, strength to watch my videos or to listen to my podcast to help them get through this terrible, hard time that they're going through. I would do it over and over again if that means that I'm giving people hope to survive cancer. It's very hard to relive these stories and these details that I go into because it's so traumatic, and it was such a traumatic experience for me. Reliving these moments are hard. I feel like I'm at a point in my life that I am strong enough to be able to relive these moments, to not let it affect me. So that's why I'm here today, to get into full details, full disclosure on everything that I went through. After I did the last 2 podcasts on my cancer journey, I had a lot of questions and I had so much great feedback. And so many people reach out to me asking a lot more details that I had given. So this episode, I'm going to go into a very extreme details on what I went through when I was fighting cancer. The world we live in today is completely negative. It's a negative world. And everything trending on social media, news, Twitter, whatever that is, it's all negative. There's no positivity out there, and I want to change that. I want to change that for people. I feel like it's important that there's positivity stuff trending, not negativity. I'm gonna take it back to when I left Mexico. When I left Mexico, we're packing up, getting ready to leave, and this is not like me. I'm always on top of my stuff. And I left Mexico. When I get to the airport, and we're about to catch our flight, I left my engagement ring and wedding band in the safe in that house. And instantly, I was so upset. We contacted the guy that ran the house and we told him, do you think maybe you can mail it? And he said, oh, I'll see what I can do. I have it in my hands. I got it before the next guest came into the house. So don't worry, it's safe with me. So I felt better about it. But as months went by, I still hadn't had my ring. And I ended up getting the ring back. To ship it literally cost the price of the ring. It was just crazy. Before I even knew I had cancer, at this point I knew that I had tumors in my body, but I didn't know exactly what it was. At that time, my spa manager ended up quitting on me. It was a bummer, and I had to scramble and try to find somebody else. So, I was interviewing people, and there was this one amazing woman that came to my spa, and she got her eyebrows done by me. And her and I talked literally the entire time that she was there, and we really connected. Come to find out, her and I both knew a ton of the same people. The place that she worked at for 15 years was a dermatologist place that originally found my melanoma, and we just really connected on a personal level. I reached out to her directly and I said, hey, I wanted to know if you're interested in a job here at Arts of Attraction. And she said, yeah, let me interview. So I interviewed her. Everything was great. And I actually ended up offering her the job. She very politely turned it down. I was super bummed because I really was hoping that she would accept the job. So then a week later, I'm still looking for a new spa manager. I found out I had melanoma. I was so concerned because here I had melanoma and I didn't have a spa manager to help me run the spa and help me manage the employees. And at this point I was freaking out. I knew that my time would be taken away from the spa because I would have to be doing treatments, going to a lot of doctor's appointments, and I didn't know how I was going to manage everything on top of fighting cancer. I wanted to get one in place before I started treatment to make sure that everything was good so I didn't have to worry about the spa. So one day, the gal that actually declined the job reached out and told me she needed a additional touch-up on her eyebrows. I thought, okay, I know she doesn't want the job here at Arts of Attraction because she did decline it, but I knew she did some consulting on the side. So I said, hey, yeah, of course I can do your touch-up. I know you do some consulting on the side. I was just diagnosed with stage 4 cancer, and I want to know if you can help me find a spa manager for my spa. I get a text right back, and she said, oh my God, Natalie. She said, don't worry, Natalie, I got you. When do you want me to start? And the rest was history. She was my freaking angel. She was my angel. She stepped up and started the next day. She was already in the business and she already knew what she was doing. So it was a really smooth transition bringing her on. I was so thankful and so grateful for her. She just literally stepped in, and I can't even thank her enough because she was there for me. The second I told her I had cancer, she's like, I'm there to help you. What do you need from me? It was just incredible, her support through this tough time. And I'm so grateful and so honored to say that 2 years later, she's still with me and still my spa manager. And I'm so grateful for her. When I went to the oncologist, they told me that I would need a port in my chest. So of course I said, no problem. Let me schedule that appointment. And they said they'd put me under twilight, get a port in my chest. And I scheduled it. And then the day before my scheduled surgery to get a port in, I started doing some research, looking into the port situation and just kind of trying to educate myself more on it. Come to find out, after I started reading more into it, I started reading that I can't lift anything over 10 pounds or be super active, which, duh, I work out all the time. My son at the time was 3. Of course I wasn't gonna not pick him up. So I actually decided last minute, under 24 hours, I'm not gonna do this port thing, and I'm just gonna see how it goes. I have good veins. We'll see how it goes. We'll see if I need to put a port in later, I'll do that, but I'm not gonna do it. And I'll tell you right now, that was the best decision I made, was not getting a port. Now, I'm sure with other people, depending on what kind of treatment you're getting, you might need a port because it can destroy your veins. But I did 4 rounds of immunotherapy and my veins did just fine and I didn't need a port. And I'm so grateful that I never got that. I just knew when I was going to start treatment, the only thing the oncologist told me is that I am not going to lose my hair. That's really all I knew. And they said, you should feel okay. You should be able to go about your normal life. So I'm like, cool. I should be good, right? They told me that I would do 4 rounds of Optivo and Yervoy. They also told me that not everyone makes it through all 4 rounds. If you can make it through all 4 rounds, that's amazing. If you can't, then you just can't. To me, I just knew that I was going to do all 4 rounds. I was going to get all 4 of that treatment in my body to kill that cancer. There was a smaller percentage that people actually got through all 4 rounds. But me, I knew I was going to get through all 4 rounds. I was going to do whatever it took to get through all 4 rounds. I did Optivo and Yervoy every 3 weeks for 4 rounds. So there was that period of time I didn't do any type of scan, so I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know if it was going to work. I didn't know anything, and there was only a 50% chance of it even working. So not all cancer centers are like this, but the one I went to, treatment room, is so depressing. An open room with several chairs, pretty much in a big circle, where we could all literally get our treatment in one room and just stare at each other and look at each other. It was one of the most depressing moments that I encountered during this treatment. You're in a room full of sick, dying people getting their treatment, trying to live. Nobody is talking to each other. Everyone's keeping to themselves, but everyone's staring at each other. Everyone's depressed. No one's happy what they're going through. So it was just a vibe that I just didn't like. I didn't like their concept of an open room. So I did my first treatment, and instantly I started noticing bloodshot eyes. Other than that was the only experience that I went through for the first treatment. About a few hours after I had left, I started feeling weird pains in my legs and feet, almost like it was arthritis or like growing pains. As days went on, it progressively got worse and worse to a point where I couldn't move without taking ibuprofen 800. It was so painful. The pain that I endured after the first treatment was brutal. I felt my whole body felt like a bruise. It felt like anyone that just touched me, it hurt so bad. I felt ill. I felt sick. I would lay there on the couch in pain. And at this time, my son is 3, and you know how kids are, especially boys, they're jumping around you, wanting to play. And I would tell my son, please don't jump around me. I don't want you jumping on me. My body hurts so bad to a point where if you jump on me, I'm going to literally cry. I was in so much pain. Then as time went on, I started getting rashes all over my body, my stomach, my chest, my back. There were times that I would wake up in the middle of the night and just feel like I want to scratch my scalp off. I ended up running to 7-Eleven at like 4 o'clock in the morning looking for Benadryl because I was in so much agony because I was itching so bad. A few weeks after doing my first treatment, I flew to MD Anderson because I did want a second opinion on the treatment that I was doing for me and my situation. MD Anderson was absolutely amazing. They have a unit there that specializes in melanoma. So if you are looking for a melanoma specialist that is really incredible, MD Anderson in Texas is top notch, the best of the best. They definitely confirmed that the treatment that I was doing currently was the best treatment for what I was dealing with and going through. We ended up flying there the same day and flying back. It was a super quick trip, but confirming with them made me feel better and at ease that I was doing the right treatment. Treatment 2 and 3 were a breeze compared to 1. And when I say breeze, I'm talking, I just dealt with rashes all over my body and so much weird shit happened to me. I woke up one day with a black eye. I don't know how it happened. I have no clue, but I woke up with a black eye. There were areas on my groin where there was enlarged lymph nodes. And one was on my hip and one was more near my pelvic area. And instantly, after what I went through, I thought, oh my gosh, is that the cancer growing? I would go in and get it checked out, and they would say, oh, I think it's just enlarged lymph nodes. You should be fine. It's just treatment. It's taking a toll on you. You're going to be okay. All right. So I just let it go. Instantly, when I found out I had cancer, I changed my entire diet, my lifestyle, the supplements I took every single day. And I'm going to go in on another episode, which is going to go in full detail on exactly what I did, what I changed when I found out I had cancer to fight it. I think a big part of fighting cancer, making sure that your lifestyle and what you're doing on a regular basis is up to par, because it's definitely a huge percentage of what you do will determine how your treatment works and your outcome. I read a lot of books to educate myself on diet and just cancer in general, because I wanted to start educating myself so I can be in the best place possible to fight this. During those few months that I was going through treatment, I went to the dermatologist probably 3 different times, because in my mind, I thought I was seeing spots and moles and stuff on my body changing. And I would always go there and just make sure that it was not cancer, and just I was a hypochondriac at this point. I mean, how could you not be? You're thinking everything's cancer. So I made it through to round 4. And I was so happy that I did this. I went in that day just kind of skipping into that treatment room like, I got to 4 rounds, and not many people do this, but guess what? Natalie did it. I did it. And I was so pumped and so excited that I got 4 rounds in my body and made it through with some rashes and some weird shit happening to me. And I was just super excited. I honestly felt like a beast. I felt like I was a beast getting through all 4 rounds, because I know the struggle it was for people to get through all 4 rounds. So I do my 4th treatment, and about 4 days later, I felt like I was dying. My temperature went up to about 104 degrees. My skin started having like a yellow tone to it. My eyes turned yellow. I could barely walk at this point. I was in so much pain. I went to my oncologist and I told them something is wrong. I am not well. I went there and they said, you look like you have jaundice. You have a yellow tint to you. Your eyes are yellow. I think you should go to the emergency room. So that's what I did. They took blood tests and stuff like that. Come to find out, I have liver failure. My liver numbers had jumped up sky high because of the treatment. And I ended up staying in the hospital about 2 days. They pumped me full of steroids through IV along with pain meds. They told me to make sure I was taking stool softeners with the pain meds because I would have constipation. So they were feeding me a ton of stool softeners during that time that I was taking this pain meds in the hospital. When I got out of the hospital, I said, I'm not doing this stool softener stuff anymore. I'm tired of it. And I stopped. What a mistake, guys. What a mistake. Don't ever stop stool softeners when you're doing pain meds. I can't even express to you the pain and agony that I went through because I was so constipated. I was literally screaming in pain. The worst pain I think I've ever encountered in my life. It was so bad. I was sweating. I was just trying to go to the bathroom. It was the worst pain anyone can ever go through. So please, if you're on pain meds and they tell you take your stool softeners, take your stool softeners. Take them for days after. don't play. So shortly after my 4th round and they got me on all these steroids and whatnot, they decided that I'm going to do a PET scan. The PET scan measures the activity in the body if there's any cancer. So they can look at tumors or whatever's in there and measure activity to see if it's active. If you're listening to my podcast, I'm going to show you a video of me before my scan. I'm sitting and waiting after I got injected with the radiation for it to go through my body. And I took a quick video of myself, raw, real time, in the moment, how I was feeling. And it was really hard to watch back because I feel all those feelings and emotions all over again. But here it is. So I'm here. I have big hair. I just got the dye in my arm and I'm waiting 45 minutes to go through my system. And this is what lights up if there's any cancer in my body. I'm scared shitless. I've never been so scared in my life. And I really hope that I'm cancer free today, and I don't know what's about to come because it's been really hard. Really tough. It's been scary. We'll know soon and we'll have answers, and I only hope for the best. Bye. The same day I got my results back, my oncologist confirmed that it was almost gone. Very excited, but there was still a pit inside of me knowing that it was still active in my body. And I said, can I go back on treatment? I want to go back on treatment. I want to get rid of this. I wanted to make sure that whatever was left, we just kill it with continuing on with treatment. My oncologist told me, no, since you're dealing with liver failure, we want to get that under control before we start you back up on treatment. The treatment they wanted to do for me was do 2 years every 3 weeks with just the drug Opdivo. And they said that drug would take care of the rest of the cancer in my body. So of course, I want to get my liver in check as quick as possible so I can start back on treatment, because I didn't want the cancer to go crazy while I was trying to fix my liver and not on treatment. During that time that I was on steroids and trying to get my liver under control, the doctor told me that I would be fighting for the rest of my life with this cancer. Maybe she's correct, maybe she's wrong. I don't really know. How could you be fighting for the rest of your life? I tried to learn to accept that comment that I would be fighting for the rest of my life, that it will continue to come back. But as time goes on, I don't want to believe that. I want to believe that it's gone and I'll never have to face this ever again. At this point, I'm doing whatever it takes to get my liver under control, because I want to go back on treatment and I want to get this cancer under control. So I am up to 100 milligrams of prednisone. 100 milligrams. During that time, I'm connecting with people through the community of melanoma that are dealing with the same things. I felt like my connecting through the community really educated me, because I was talking to other people in the same situation and they were able to tell me their experience, and I learned a lot from these girls. I ended up building a really good relationship with many of them, where I would talk to them every day and we would keep each other updated on what was going on with her health. A lot of the girls that I connected with had to go on steroids as well because the treatment they did gave them liver failure, like myself. They warned me that I would gain weight and to be prepared. And also I would have moon face. I told them, no, it's not like me to gain weight. And if I do start gaining weight, I will run double the amount of time that I normally run, and I will lift double the amount of time that I normally lift, and I will do whatever it takes, sitting in my infrared sauna extra long, watching every piece of food that goes in my mouth. I will make sure that this steroid does not make me gain weight, because to me, my appearance is important. And the great thing about the treatment I went through, I didn't lose my hair. So I was able to hide what I was going through, because a lot of cancer patients can't hide it because they lose their hair and they look super skinny and frail. And I was able to look normal. And looking normal to me gave me sanity to make me feel normal. It was almost like I was escaping it at times because I can look in the mirror and feel normal. So when I was told I was going to gain weight, not happening. I was going to let it. So I started working out even harder. I would do my sauna sessions every day. I would run. I would do weights. I hit it hard. And with the steroids and the high doses, it gave me that energy to do so. I was out there working out harder than I've ever worked out in my entire life. After a couple months of being on prednisone, my liver would not go down. It just wouldn't. And I started freaking out because here I am, I still have active cancer inside me, and my liver is not well, and I can't go back on treatment until my liver is well. So I said, what can I do? Is there any other options I can do to get this liver under control? And they said, well, we can have you come in daily for a week and we can inject steroids by IV. So I said, okay, I'll do that. No problem. Whatever it takes. So I went every single day, got injections of 100 milligrams by IV. And then they took my blood work and my numbers were starting to look good. So it was becoming hopeful. And they don't want you to do the steroids by IV any more than a week. They said it was too much for the body. So I had to go back on prednisone, which was 100 milligrams, and continue on with that. Waited another week, took blood work. I was literally in there every week doing blood work to check my liver numbers. My liver numbers started jumping back up again. I was at a loss for words. What the hell is it gonna take to get my liver back where it needs to be? I was so frustrated. Not to mention, after a couple months of being pumped with steroids, I gained 20 pounds overnight. I ate very little. I worked out so hard and did everything, but it doesn't matter what you do. When you are on prednisone for a long period of time, you're gonna gain weight. It doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. Let me get into a little bit of what prednisone does to you. The side effects are ongoing and absolutely insane. I couldn't sleep. I had insomnia. Sleeping wasn't even a thing when I was on steroids. I was up all hours of the night. It was terrible. My body felt tired, but at the same time, it was like I was anxious inside with all the steroids. My eyesight got so bad to a point where I could barely see. There were services that I had to stop doing because I couldn't do them, because I couldn't see. The energy on steroids was so high energy, but at the same time, I was super irritable. I had an ignorance about me that I felt like I was better than everyone. I was aggressive. The thoughts that I had running through my mind were aggressive all the time being on the steroids. There was a time, so at my spa, I have these beautiful, beautiful glass doors where you open up and come in. It's very beautiful. I don't know why I was even thinking this, but my thoughts were, When I go to work today, I'm gonna smash through those doors and all this glass is gonna come crumbling down on the floor. What? That's crazy talk. That's crazy thoughts. I was just on a different level than everyone else. Mentally, I was on a different level. It's almost like being a roid rager. You know how like roid ragers feel like they're on the top of the world and they're like their shit don't stink and they're the best thing in the entire world and nobody can touch them and they're invisible and all that shit. That's how I felt times a million. There is this video that I'm going to share with you that I came across somehow on Instagram when I was on these steroids, roid raging. I'm going to play it for you. Like, I felt this video in my soul. It actually describes really well on how intense my feelings were when I was on steroids. Let me play it for you.
Fine line between anxiety and excitement. And it's so fine that you start believing your excitement is anxiety. Do you think that you want to back away from it truly? Or do you think that you're so fucking excited because you're going to win, but you can't look at everybody and go, hey, guess what, everybody? I'm about to fucking win! I'm gonna fucking win!
I was on that level all the time on steroids. I would have to tell myself, when you go into work, Natalie, make sure you're calm and you take it down many notches because you're going to go in so intense. These people are going to think you're fucking crazy. I felt crazy on this drug. I felt fucking crazy, but I knew I had to be on it. Worst of all, the worst part of being on steroids was my moon face. It was so bad that I didn't even recognize myself. If you are listening to my podcast, go to my YouTube and click this video so you can see the pictures I'm going to show you on how I looked. My face was so round. It's like putting two faces together. That's how round my face was. I was unrecognizable. I would walk past a mirror and catch myself in the mirror and say, who the hell is this person? That's not me. I was humiliated. I didn't want to go anywhere. I didn't even want to go to work. I didn't want clients to see me. I didn't want anyone to see me. I was embarrassed. I was insecure. The moon face, I hate to say this, but it was up there with the cancer for me. Was my appearance being changed and being unrecognizable. I tried everything you could possibly think of to get rid of my moon face. I bought ice rollers, rolled my face multiple times to get the swelling down. I bought this face garment that people would wear after surgeries to help with like swelling. I wore that during the night and also in the morning times. I even got prescribed water pills to try to flush out that extra water in my body. Nothing worked. Nothing. So I knew at that point I was done. I was done with these steroids. And I was probably 6 months into it where I'm on all these high doses of steroids. The holidays come. I'm so depressed because I look terrible and family's coming over. I'm humiliated and I just hated my life. I didn't want to take Christmas photos with my family. I didn't want anyone taking photos of me. I was so embarrassed. So I decided, I'm getting off steroids. I'm getting off prednisone. I'm going to do what I want to do. And I'm getting off prednisone. So that's what I did. I had enough with my liver numbers not changing and on all these high doses of steroids making me feel like shit and look like shit that I wasn't going to take it anymore. Nothing was working anyways. So I'm getting off the drug. At this point, 6 months into it, I haven't had a scan because I'm over here dealing with my liver to get it under control. I didn't want a scan because to me, I thought, what's the point? What if I do have cancer and it's going crazy in my body, but I can't do anything about it because my liver has problems and I can't get on treatment anyways. So what's the point? As I started to taper, I could already know that I felt more normal. And my liver numbers were still staying the same. So I was on all those high doses for nothing. During this time, I was consulting with MD Anderson about my steroids, that we definitely had that open relationship. We were staying in touch and keeping them posted with my health. So after 6 months of not doing a scan, I decided that I was going to scan. I felt like, okay, I'm just going to do it. I think one of my friends talked me into it. Just do it, Natalie. Maybe there's something else that they can give you instead of the other treatment if the cancer is growing. So I said, okay, I'm going to do it. So I did my scan and all the tumors went away, but one. The one tumor that was there shrunk. So that was great. There was nothing else additional to that. So that was great. But in my mind, the cancer was still there and I needed to figure that out. So consulting with MD Anderson back and forth about my steroids and about concern about the cancer and how there's still a tumor in there and yada, 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 and back and forth. I was telling them I need to go back on treatment. What do I do? The oncologist at MD Anderson said, no, you don't need to go back on treatment. Why do you feel like you need to go back on treatment? And I said, because the cancer, it's still there and there's still a tumor in my body. And she said to me, Natalie, when I read your PET scan right after you did treatment, you were NED, no evidence of disease. I said, what about the tumor inside my body? They said, that's scar tissue, Natalie. We checked and there's no cancer activity. You will never have a regular scan ever again. And that spot may never go away. But don't worry, we will monitor it moving forward. And I said, what? You're telling me that I've been NED since the end of my last treatment, which was six months ago. And they're like, yeah, you don't need to go back on treatment. I don't recommend you going back on treatment. It gave you almost liver failure. Let's just keep checking you every 3 months to make sure you're good and nothing gets out of control. What? I'm NED? How come no one's told me this? How come I've been sitting around here for 6 months thinking there's still cancer in my body? Going through all the stress, anxiety, depression, all this shit, and I've been NED since? I was so relieved, yet so angry at my current oncologist. I called my family crying, telling them I'm an NED, I have no evidence of disease in my body. I was so happy, but then they were like, well, I thought you weren't, and it was just a mess. And I try to explain to them. First of all, how did my current oncologist not know that I was NED? That's concerning. I knew right there I was done with that oncologist. I'm finding a new doctor. I'm done. With the type of cancer that I had, with melanoma, you're never cancer-free. That is, some cancers you can be cancer-free, but with melanoma, you're never cancer-free. You are considered NED, which means no evidence of disease in the body. Stay tuned for my next episode of Life After Cancer. See you next time.